Hi, Rich. This is Chris Ott. I had a question too. We probably all saw the happy headlines this summer about Borealis turning a profit. And that makes a great talking point, but I understand that there's some contentiousness about that and exactly what that means. So what's your view? Is it or isn't it making a
But
profit?
it's not I wouldn't call it a profit in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it does. So one thing about it's only looking at Amtrak's books, number one. And number two, the payments to Amtrak are really lumpy. So they are getting like constant stream of passenger revenue, but there's state payments involved, right? Borealis passenger revenue is really only covering about 60% of its costs. The remainder is coming from now. It's coming from the federal government through the Restoration and Enhancement Grant, and from the states. So whatever is not covered by the federal grant is covered by the states, and that means the formula for that is Illinois is paying 30%, Minnesota is paying 35%, and Wisconsin's paying 35% of whatever that remaining deficit is. And then once the federal grant runs out, the states are paying up that are going to be paying that deficit, whether it's 40% or 30%. Hopefully maybe we get it down to 20%, but it might be a momentary cash flow profit for Amtrak, but in any meaningful sense of the word, it's not a profit. It's just I would call it like a net revenue for Amtrak for that particular period.
Rich, I have Kathy Van Meren online that has a question.
Sure.
Thank you. Kathy Van Meren from LaCrosse. How would you anticipate increase in ridership if, for example, a bike car or the ability to take bicycles on the train were added, and or other amenities or upgrades? That's my question. Thank you.
So this is a timely question. We've been talking to Amtrak about adding bikes to the Borealis since before we started, and it's proving to be a tough problem to solve. And that is because there is no like luggage or other storage capacity on this train. It doesn't have a baggage car, and neither the coach cars nor the cafe cars have bike racks in them. And it's now Amtrak policy that they won't stow bikes in the vestibules unsecured. And so there is no reservable bike capacity on the Borealis, and until we figure out using some either a baggage car that the states pay for, or modifying the other equipment, either modifying the Horizon cars or the cafe cars so that we can get securable bike racks in them. So it's really a long-term question, and we just talked about this earlier this week in a call with Amtrak, and frankly, I don't see how we can solve that getting bikes on the Borealis within the next few years. It's just not technically feasible. And then from a revenue standpoint, it would never be net revenue positive, especially if we had to bring along a baggage car, because the baggage car itself would probably cost at least $100,000, $200,000 a year.
Hi, Rich. Ian Weiser from Milwaukee.
Yes, Ian.
Great question, short one. Back in 2021, when TCMC was under development, there were some maps circulated that showed possible throughway connections from, say, Toma to Eau Claire. And I'm wondering, are any of those in development currently? Can you speak to that? Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, we did ask Amtrak to provide us with a financial analysis of operating a throughway bus between Eau Claire and Toma. I think we asked them more than 3 months ago. We don't know what's happening. We keep following up with them, and I don't know if it's a resource issue at Amtrak. I suspect it is. that they don't have enough capacity to do all the throughway bus analyses that states ask them to do. Eventually, we will get it. But I will also add that knowing how much it costs to operate the I-41 throughway bus with the 2 round trips between Green Bay and Milwaukee, we likely wouldn't be able to afford subsidizing any other throughway buses right now. Probably not for a few years. But it's a good question, and it's something we are mindful of, and we do want to, so if the numbers work, add a throughway bus when we have funding available. I want to talk a little bit about the TCMC improvement projects. We're behind our original schedule, but it looks like we will get the PS&E out in the spring, and with most construction occurring in 2026, and that the design work is for track and crossings in LaCrosse and Winona, Minnesota. It's quite possible the other element is the CPKC bridge over the Mississippi between LaCrosse and La Crescent, and CPKC, if they get their design work done quickly, they might start work on that bridge this winter. We're hoping that they are able to do that, because we'll get a small increase in train speed over that bridge once that work is done. And we anticipate the estimated cost for all of the projects at $56 million. And I do have slides on some of the individual components. So, and I'm just going to go through them quickly because there's a lot of them. So the LaCrosse Depot area, the primary project is to restore a second mainline track through that area to avoid conflicts with trains going in and out of the yard east of the depot. Signal work, a little bit of platform work due to the restored second track, and improving at-grade crossings in the neighborhood. The bridge, as I mentioned, between over the Mississippi River near La Crescent, it's a little bit of track curve work, and then upgrading the movable joints. Anybody knows anything about movable bridges is they are expensive, and alignments can go bad, especially when temperatures are extreme, especially if it's really hot. Bridges don't like to open and close as we want them to. So big part of that work will be making improvements to those joints. And then it's not a big improvement in speed, but eventually the speed will increase to 15 miles per hour over that bridge. La Crescent Junction Yard, adding a second mainline track and modifying the Y, and just lots of little improvements to turnouts and yard tracks. And this will help the fluidity through that area for both passenger and freight trains. Moving to Winona, so this is lots of track rehabilitation of the existing siding track, power turnouts, signal work, at-grade crossing improvements. All of this work will improve fluidity, improve train movements, passenger and freight movements through Winona. At the tower, constructing new track, power switches again. All of this work meant to improve fluidity through the area. Does anybody have any questions about these improvements? I am not intimately involved in these projects. We have a engineer project manager and a consultant that helps us manage these, but I'll try to answer questions if you have any.
So I have a question. My name's Tim Kiefer. Can you go back to the slide about the improvements to the LaCrosse Depot? There is a coffee shop there that I think is owned by a church that's within the station. The train, the Borealis, arrives at 4. The coffee shop, according to the sign, closes at 3 o'clock, and it's also not open at all on weekends, Saturdays or Sundays. Who actually owns the depot, and is that coffee shop rented to the church, or how does that work? And is there some possibility of having the times set up such that the coffee shop would actually be open at the times that the trains come in, as opposed to being closed at the time that the train arrives? It'd be nice to have that amenity of having the coffee shop, but right now the current tenant apparently closes at an hour before the train arrives to Borealis. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know anything about LaCrosse station operations. If anybody in the audience has any information, that'd be helpful.
Hey, Rich, Terry Brown here. LaCrosse Depot is owned by the city of LaCrosse. And the fact that you said that that coffee shop is owned by or run by the fellowship, as they call themselves, that's in that same building, I didn't know that. But I think it would be a great suggestion if you become a member of that fellowship and offer to run the coffee shop during the off hours. I'm sure they would appreciate it. Not the answer you were hoping for, a little snarky, I agree. Okay, in the chat box, Leon Mazinski from Winona had a question. Is Leon's?
Yeah, I'm here. I know that Amtrak is supposed to be upgrading the platform at the depot in Winona. I haven't heard anything about how that's progressed or not. Haven't heard anything from Amtrak or our city. So at our depot, do you know about the realignment of the track there and the improvement to the depot platform?
So what I will say, what I know about the track alignment is everything that's on this slide. As far as the platform, that is Amtrak, and I will tell you, just knowing from our experience with the Columbus platform project and the Toma platform project, Amtrak works at its own speed, which is often pretty slow and frustrating, and we generally don't get a lot of information, and sometimes the contractor does things that Amtrak doesn't know about. So what I would say is, if you have specific questions about what's happening with the Winona platform project, contact Amtrak's government affairs person.
Can I make one comment about the platform?
Yeah.
Well, I don't, the platform won't be redone until they restore the siding to a main line. That's the whole purpose of the siding, is to keep the, so passengers and freight trains can meet, plus then they can have a higher level platform. So when is the siding supposed to be done? 2026?
Likely, yes. So if the siding work occurs in 2026, I would bet on the platform in 2027.
Yeah, because they want to eliminate walking across the track to get on the train. That's the main purpose of the siding.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Rich, on the 2 grade crossings to the east of the depot, WisDOT is seeking additional funding for those. Is that correct? That was not part of the original TCMC funding?
That might be true. Again, that's not something it's not my issue area. If my boss, Lisa Stern, were here, she would know. I do know, so that what WisDOT thinks needs to happen there now is much more expensive than originally estimated. And we can seek funding from other sources for crossings, for instance, from Federal Highway Administration, as well as other FRA crossing safety programs. I am not surprised it's going to cost probably double or triple what was originally estimated for those crossings because they're very complicated. And, you know, CPKC, our host railroad, has requested, you know, closures for both of them because they're required to maintain the crossing surfaces and equipment, signal equipment. So we are working with them to try to come up with a balance for the railroad and the city and the neighborhood. Not everybody's going to like the final, you know, the final outcome, and it's going to be more expensive than we anticipated, but WisDOT seems pretty confident that we're pretty close to a solution that everybody can agree to.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, that's human nature, right? Nobody's gonna agree on everything on those 2 grade crossings. Okay, your bullet points on the left.
Sure.
They kind of strike me as different than what we saw maybe a year ago. When Lisa presented at our meeting in West Dallas. So you're saying they're going to, so the track that's the farthest track from the station is going to be upgraded to a mainline track?
Yes.
Is there going to be a boarding track under the awning installed, or has that?
That I don't know. That's outside of my area of knowledge.